As a legal defense, it's made up of 5 legal elements, like a recipe has ingredients. Not 500 elements, that's the good news. There's not 50, this is not rocket science what we're talking about here. There's only 5 things you have to keep in mind for a lawful case of self-defense, and often not even 5, because often 1 or more of these are not required, depending on the state, depending on the circumstances. But the most elements you have to worry about is these 5. Innocence, imminence, proportionality, avoidance, and reasonableness. So innocence means you can't have been the aggressor in the fight, right? Self-defense is intended to allow you to defend yourself against someone else's aggression. If you started the fight, if you were the initial aggressor, can't be lawful self-defense. Imminence means that the threat you're defending yourself against is either actually occurring, you're getting beat, you're getting shot, or it's immediately about to occur. So you don't have to wait to be injured before you can defend yourself, but it can't be a past threat that's over. Someone hit you yesterday, and now you're striking back. That would just be retribution. It can't be a speculative future threat that may never happen. So somebody says, I'm going to go home and get a gun and come back here and shoot you. Well, if they come back with the gun, they may be an imminent threat. But them verbalizing their future intention would not be an imminent threat in the moment. Proportionality basically means you can't use deadly force in self-defense, like all the guns we're using here, unless you're facing a deadly force threat. So if someone's shoving you, that's probably not going to cause you death or serious bodily injury. So going to the gun in defense of a shove probably would not be a proportional legal response. Now, could it be? Sure. Is the person shoving you, do they outweigh you by 150 pounds? Are they a large man and you're a small woman? Is there some aggravating factor that would make their physical aggression towards you something that could potentially cause you death or serious bodily injury? If the answer to that is yes, well, then it's a deadly force threat. But you'd have to be able to convince a jury of that aggravating factor. Avoidance, this is the element that's most commonly waived. Avoidance has to do with whether or not you have a legal duty to retreat before you can defend yourself. There are only 11 states that impose this element of avoidance. 39 states are stand-your-ground states, either by statute or by case law in those jurisdictions. That said, I would urge all of you, if you have a safe avenue of retreat, I don't care if you're in a stand-your-ground state or not, if you can safely simply walk away from that fight rather than get in the fight, why wouldn't you do that? Because, as I already said, the moment you get engaged in that fight, what have you just done? Incurred a greater than 0 risk of death and a greater than 0 risk of going to prison for the rest of your life. Now, are there things worth dying for and going to prison for? I would say yes, right? I think of my wife, my kids, my parents. Then I run out of shit that I'm willing to die or go to prison for.